Today, we're jumping into a truly fascinating 400-year stretch of Japanese history that completely forged its spiritual soul. We're talking about a time when Japan's ancient native gods and a powerful new religion from the mainland didn't just coexist, they actually became one. So let's kick things off with a question that might seem pretty simple on the surface, but wow, it has some incredibly deep roots. If you've ever been to Japan, you've probably noticed it. A Buddhist temple and a Shinto shrine, sometimes literally right next to each other. People visit both, maybe for different reasons, but it's totally normal. So, why? What's the story behind this unique spiritual blend?
Well, to get to the bottom of it, our story has to start at the dawn of the Heian period. It's the year 794, and the emperor decides to move the capital out of Nara and into a brand new city, Heian-kyo, which you probably know today as Kyoto. And this wasn't just about moving palaces, it was a chance to hit a giant reset button on the whole country, politically and spiritually.
Now here's the problem they were facing. The established Buddhism from the previous era had grown into this massive political powerhouse. Its big monasteries were getting way too involved in court politics, and frankly, its dense philosophy just didn't connect with the local faith, the worship of Japan's countless native gods, the kami. The court needed Buddhism's power, for sure, but they couldn't let it run the show.
So the first answer to this dilemma arrived from China. It was a new, powerful, and kind of mystical form of Buddhism, and it was brought to Japan by two absolute superstar monks, Saicho and Kukai. These are the guys who would go on to found the legendary Tendai and Shingon schools.
And this new import was called esoteric Buddhism, or Mikkyo in Japanese. You see, unlike the more bookish, academic schools back in Nara, Mikkyo was all about action. It was packed with mystical rituals, powerful spells, and these amazing complex visual aids like mandalas. And the goal? To achieve enlightenment and get some very real benefits, like protecting the nation, right here in this lifetime.
Mikkyo turned out to be a perfect fit for Japan. Its focus on rituals and nature really clicked with existing Shinto practices. But the real genius was its worldview. The mandala is like this giant cosmic org chart, and it had a place for everyone. This meant Japan's own local kami could be neatly slotted into a grand Buddhist universe.
Okay, so while all this high-level, esoteric stuff is happening in the new capital, winning over the elites, something even more profound was starting to bubble up from the ground level, all across the country. And this incredible process has a name, Shinbutsu Shugo. It translates to something like the combination of kami and Buddhas. But it was so much more than that. This was a deep philosophical fusion that would literally define Japanese religion for the next 1,000 years. Now, according to the historian Hirayama Hiroshi, this whole merger didn't just happen overnight. It was a complex process that unfolded in about 4 major stages. But the really wild part, the thing that kicks it all off, it wasn't an order from the emperor. It was a request that came from the gods themselves. Right, I really want this to sink in for a second. This historic fusion that shaped Japan, it was not a top-down policy. The historical records tell us that the whole movement started because the kami, the local gods of Japan, actually wanted to be saved by Buddhist teachings. I mean, just get a load of this incredible account from the year 763. The mighty god of Mount Tado supposedly spoke through an oracle and said this. He's essentially saying, because of my past sins, I'm stuck being a god, and it's a form of suffering. I want to escape this and find real salvation in Buddhism. I mean, can you imagine? This was a total game changer. Japan's own powerful deities were admitting they were suffering and that they needed the Buddha's help. So once you have gods asking for help, what do? Well, as more and more kami made these kinds of requests, a whole new kind of sacred place popped up. The Jinguji, or Shrine Temple. People started building Buddhist temples right inside or next to Shinto shrines, and monks were tasked with chanting sutras specifically to help the local god achieve enlightenment. So over time, a really sophisticated and frankly brilliant theory developed to explain all this. It's called Honji Sujaku. Here's the basic idea. The universal Buddhists from India are the original essence, the Honji, and the Japanese kami are their local manifestations, their Sujaku. So the sun goddess Amaterasu wasn't being replaced, she was just revealed to be the Japanese version of the cosmic Buddha. It was the perfect way to honor local gods while bringing them into the Buddhist family. So here's a quick look at how this all played out. The early and middle Heian periods are dominated by esoteric Buddhism and this fusion with the kami. But as we get toward the end of the period, around the 1100s, things start getting really chaotic.
Civil wars and instability created a brand new spiritual crisis, and it demanded a brand new kind of answer. So this system of rituals and merged deities, it worked beautifully for centuries. But as the Heian period itself started to fall apart, Japan's entire social fabric began to tear, and that pushed people toward yet another major transformation in their faith.
You've got constant warfare, you've got famine, social order is collapsing, and all this led people to believe they were entering Mappo, the final degenerate age of Buddhist law. The feeling was that in such a dark time, trying to achieve enlightenment through complicated rituals or your own hard work was just impossible. And this created a deep, widespread anxiety. This anxiety caused a profound 180-degree shift in how people thought about salvation. The old model, Kanjo, was all about using rituals to invite the gods and Buddhas down into our world to help us out. But now, in the age of Mappo, this world seemed broken, beyond saving. So, the new model, Raiko, completely flipped the script. The prayer was no longer "come help us here," but "please, come get us and welcome us into your perfect world when we die." And out of this desperate new hope, Pure Land Buddhism just explodes in popularity. Thanks to pioneers like Kuya and Genshin, this new movement taught that salvation wasn't about mastering some complex system. It was about having simple, heartfelt faith in the compassion of one Buddha in particular, Amida, who had made a vow to save anyone and everyone who sincerely called out his name. And this was absolutely revolutionary. The path to being saved was suddenly open to everyone. All you had to do was have faith and chant Amida's name, the Nambutsu. This promise was for the warrior on the battlefield, the farmer in the rice paddy, and incredibly important, it was for women, who older schools of thought often claimed couldn't achieve enlightenment. This was truly the democratization of salvation. So, after these 400 years of esoteric masters, merging gods, and the rise of this brand new democratic faith, what's the lasting impact? What did this incredible spiritual journey in the Heian period leave behind? Well, here's the bottom line. The spiritual DNA of modern Japan was coded during this time, and the story wasn't one of religious conflict. It was a story of this remarkable, almost unique ability to fuse, to adapt, and to weave different beliefs into a single complex tapestry. And this brings us right back to our very first question. Why does visiting a shrine and a temple feel so normal in Japan? Because for more than 1,000 years, they were basically part of the same thing. The strict separation between Shinto and Buddhism that you see today, that was actually a political policy forced on the country way later, in 1868, to try and make Shinto the official state religion. Which leaves us with one final big idea to think about. Could this ancient ability to find common ground, to see the divine in multiple forms, and to synthesize beliefs, a legacy forged way back in the Heian period, could that be the real root of what so many people today see as a unique cultural and religious flexibility in Japan? It's a pretty fascinating question to chew on.